Hello and welcome to a very special episode of Flood City 2. Now, I wanted to do this a few days ago, but for some reason, Cities was not recognizing any of my mods, so sort of put that idea on hold until today. But now here I am, and today is the 1 in 500 year flood with a flood rating of 2. The highest that we've had so far is, I believe, 2.40 or something. No, not 2, 1.40 or something like that. So today is going to be a significant increase, and it will really put this floodway test design to the test. And if it goes through this test well, then I may think of another kind of flood city idea, but there'll definitely be some flood cities, just a matter of what form they take. But I'm going to get right into things and place some floods. I'm not going to add anybody for this one because they may very likely die instantly. So I'm sure we'll have some casualties today. So we'll replace them with new faces, new citizens in Flood City in the next episode. If there is a next episode. Dun, dun, dun. All right, so I've placed the 1. I think what I'm going to do is place this one first, and then we'll wait a little while, and then we'll place the other one. So we sort of have 2 waves of flooding that'll come through the city. So we'll see how the first one does, and then, well, it doesn't matter if it goes horribly on the first one. We're still going to place the second one just to add some dynamics to things. And because I have a feeling that this may very likely overflow my flood diversion thing. It was really not made to do a flood like this, but it may not. It may work perfectly. That would be unfortunate, but we'll see. So while things get started, we may as well check up our surviving citizens. We've got a lot of old people. I think the oldest we have right now is female me and Master Chief at 88 years old. I'm going to the fashionable fashion shop. That is redundantly redundant. See what I did there? Jackson Quinn, who I think is a new person, living in the Pearl residence, well-educated, who works at the copper company, which I assume mines coal. That was a joke. Then we have Trollface, 83 years old, retired, hanging out at home in the Somers district. And Diana Bell, 8-year-old child, studying at elementary school over here in a relatively safe part of town. She lives in the Chester residence, which is in, it's normally a safe part of town, but who knows? We've never gone into this kind of flood severity before. Frosty Creeper, occupation at the Super Pharmacy, living at the Belmont residence in the oldest district in the city. These were the first 2 roads I made, were these ones right here, these 2 one-ways, one going north and one going south. And Justin A. Freak, child, uneducated, currently studying at elementary school and lives up here in the Olive residence. And I will check up on the others while this whole thing unfolds. So, as different from last time, we have this, which is a new area of town, Awesomeness Park, named after the deceased Awesomeness. So this is probably the newest area in town. I've constructed some new neighborhoods around here. One idea that somebody came up with in the comments was to do a video on traffic management, and I like that idea because I've actually have quite a few ideas as far as that goes. So in the future, I'll probably do a video for that because I think that would be fun to do. But yeah, I built this little new residential area. Quite a bit of new people here. I have no idea how this area is going to handle a flood. It's got no dike or anything, and I think we'll just keep it like that, because this area hasn't really ever been flooded before anyway, so I'm not sure it'll be a problem. Famous last words on the 1 in 500 year flood. At the moment, all the water is still flowing into the Rouge River, into the city. None of it's not being diverted yet. It still has to go up quite a ways before it will start diverting. One of the big tests is going to be seeing whether this dike that holds the perimeter of the diversion is actually going to be high enough. So that's another way it could flood in. It could flood in from behind, from there. That is, if it doesn't flood in. Now, I was thinking about other ideas if this floodway does actually start working too well. And I was thinking what I could do is I could create floods coming in on the different rivers, like possibly this one, the creek. Let's say we have some flash floods or something, and the water spills into this creek or up here, and they could flood the cities from different directions, which is something I could do if this floodway just seems to be working too well on this river. And we could do those kind of floods on top of our usual floods up here, which will hopefully create situations that will overwhelm defenses. Don't worry, as defenses get better, we will continue to make the floods worse. I have also had ideas for maybe another map, but I won't go into that until I have to, or I see fit. Words. Hank Hamburger is still working at the Giga Store, which is over here. Pretty safe part of town. Where does he live? They tend to move around, so they live in different places. Got a nice high-rise apartment. High-rises are probably the best place to live in this city, assuming you're on one of the higher floors. If you're in the basement, well, then you're not very smart, to be honest. Richard McDowell is traveling home right now on the bus. Super rich Richard McDowell still takes the bus. It's one of those that one. You know what I'm trying to say. You know, I'm actually quite intelligent. Mini rock gamer, well educated, living in the Elk residence, currently hanging out at home. That's a relatively new area. Blaine Keys, also well educated, currently hanging out at home, working at the shop Till You Drop Center, which is that a big fancy mall? No, it's just a regular place. Where's he live? Where do you live, Mr. Blaine? The Linden residence. Right there in Somers Park. I think we actually looked at you before, didn't we? Alright, water is just starting to divert. Now, at this point, I think I will place the second part of this flood right there. So we had a little bit of commercial demand, so I thought I'd make some commercial areas up here since it's pretty much exclusively residential. It would be nice to have some shops and whatnot in that area. This water is most certainly flowing into the river now, as is this water, as it starts to rush into the diversion. It is starting to get pretty high on this dam, too. It is. All right, we do have some unfortunate news. Master Chief has passed away at the age of 91. Currently, seems like he's currently in waiting for, he's on the hearse going to his inevitable grave or crematorium or whatever. And Space Magistry has also passed away at the age of 91, and he's obviously already at the graveyard. So we've had 2 deaths so far, natural. And there goes Master Chief. Things do seem to be rising in the city. It's now up to the 2nd tree. To be expected, but if it keeps going, then things might get interesting. Some more unfortunate news. I almost said moos like cows. Anyways, news. I'm dead. The female version of me has passed away at the age of 92. highly educated, living at the Vermont residence, currently waiting for the hearse to take me away. Man, that's deep. That's awfully deep. You have to say that things are looking awfully close here. It's almost to the top of the dam, and it's pretty, like, I think we may have some problems in this one. Oh, by the way, actually, surprisingly, after the last episode where I thought it didn't save, it actually did save. So that last video did actually happen. I also re-added you, Brett Shatterman. Probably spelled your name wrong, but I'm working off memory here. So you got to cheat death, and now you've gone back in time. You found the fountain of youth, and now you're 19 years old again, living here in this area. Water is just starting to overflow this dam right here. It was just for a second, but then it stopped. But I imagine it won't be much longer until it starts to do it on a more regular basis. Alright, things are starting to look pretty serious. Well, off and on. A moment ago, this whole park was flooded out, but water levels on this side of the dam and this side of the dam are getting closer to being level with one another. And I imagine water levels downstream are going to start rising significantly very shortly. Sorry, last time it was at the second tree, the pine tree or whatever, but now it's almost at the third tree, which means it will be going into the spillway quite soon, which, considering how it looks, is actually pretty good, but I imagine it's going to get worse. Now, one thing I noticed that I fixed was the water was actually diverting out the back of the map, which wasn't intentional, so I blocked it off, so now all that water is being pushed down south rather than some of it being drained off to the north. So hopefully that'll start causing some more pressure on this dam, which is now actually operating normally, which is not a great sign because it's not supposed to be so high that it does operate normally. Quite quickly, it's gone up above the third tree, and these videos are only taken like half a minute apart from each other, so it is starting to go divert into the Oran Somers spillway shortly. As for the diversion, it's gotten about to around here, about halfway around the city. My cat's just hopping off of my shoulder. What do you want? Eh? What do you want, kitty cat? Eh? It is unfortunate that I can't really do the nice sweeping cinematic shots anymore because it's just too laggy with the city of this size, even on my computer, which I have to admit is quite a beast of a gaming machine. It's still quite choppy when you're doing all that motion with all the cars going and everything, so it doesn't usually work all right. I try and use them occasionally, but I don't know, they don't really. After this episode, I'm sure some people's dismay, I think I'm going to take a bit of a break from City Skylines. I've kind of played it to death, and I need to try something else for a while to reinvigorate things again. If you know of any other like city buildings kind of games, not necessarily city building or any like maybe Prison Architect or something like that, might try something like that for something different because I just need it's just the same thing over and over. It floods, it unfloods, it floods, it unfloods. Just something different. I will always come back to City Skylines. I think it's one of my favorite games of all time, but it needs a rest. It needs a rest. I was playing some War Thunder today, and I miss playing that, and I know there are a few people who like the War Thunder videos and Armored Warfare videos, although I'm sure all those people have unsubscribed by now, because I haven't done one in a long time. But I may do some more of that. I want to do some of my historical vehicle background videos again too. So can keep an eye out for new things in the future. But just to let you know, you may not see a city skyline video for a little while. It'll be back, but just for a while. We are starting to get a little flooding right here. The park's getting flooded. Oh yeah, but what I was talking about, oh wow, it is actually getting pretty high over here. The dikes have, this thing might be interesting after all. This isn't even a 2 flood anymore. This is a 2.5. I upped it by a half. So right now this is a 1 in bazillion year flood, I guess. And things are starting to flood out now. The park here getting pretty high on these dikes. Where is it on the tree scale? It's at the... That's weird. It's lower than it was before, yet it's higher? Oh well. I'm not going to complain. It's something interesting happening. Oh, by the way, that's what I was saying before about the whole taking a break. That doesn't include that whole traffic tutorial thing I'm going to do. I'm still going to do that because I think that sounds rather interesting, where I'll go over traffic management techniques, because it's something, probably one of my favorite aspects of this game. So you can expect that in the near-ish future. Alright, so what's everybody up to? It looks like Diana Bell is studying at high school now, 14 years old. A high school that's in a rather bad place. Where does she live these days? The Chester Residence, which is there. Yeah, I'm really not sure about that area. This area has never really been hit very badly by a flood before. Maybe a few of these houses on the very edge of the river got flooded out, but it was only like 3 or 4 of them, not very much. Then we have Jackson Quinn, who is at home at the moment. That's not a particularly safe place to be. Frosty Creeper is going to Boutiques Galore shopping mall. What is his mode of transportation? Subway, it seems. Taking the subway over there. Your residence is right here. It's in the old part of town. The oldest part of town is where you live. Who else? Justin A. Freak, 13 years old. At home right now. Watching some TV, maybe playing some city building games if we want to get extra meta. And now things have gone back down again. Oh no, this flood wall was made really badly. Oh no, oh the humanity, it's all collapsing. Whatever shall we do? And the earth, it's just leveling out magically. It's a horrendous event. Whatever will happen in our city? Alright, the person who was contracted to do this stretch of wall is now being fired from their job as our city is threatened from behind. No one else seems to have died, so far this episode has been Master Chief, Peppers, me, and Space Magistry have died, all in the early 90s when music was really good. In other news, everything is flooding. This whole area is getting quite inundated with water, and it's flowing into the river from behind. Hasn't really caused any significant rising in the river yet, but I'm sure that will soon happen. Well, I think the conclusion we can make at this point is that nature is just a wimp that's easily tameable by man through means of blocking things off with dams and making stuff go around stuff. So, nature 0, man 1. Well, I suppose the score is more like man 1 and nature 4 for all the times the city has been flooded. But I guess we're getting better. Alright, I'm going to make one last effort. This is now a level 3 flood with all tons of water now splashing into this area. And if this compromised floodway can handle this, then it can handle anything. So I'm just going to keep it on fast and we'll see what happens. Alright, the action is starting to ramp up, but, and I know there's going to be a lot of people going, oh, this is probably going to be getting a bit too long if I keep going, so I'm going to have to make a part 2. So until then, until we see the end of this disastrous disaster, good night. To be continued.